Hey everyone. The topic for discussion today is being provided for, provision. All right, let's dive into this. In the movie The Hunger Games, Katniss, the main character of the movie, who is also on the hero's journey, although the hero's journey is not relevant to this topic, I do always want to bring up movies where the hero's journey is the main underlying arc of the movie. So in that movie, the character, so if you've seen it, obviously I don't have to really tell you, but she's the main character. She meets other supporting characters. You have Hamish, who is the reluctant hero. He's like Han Solo. So if you think about Star Wars is the reluctant hero. Not Anakin. Luke is the hero. He's on the hero's journey. He's the main character. So anyway, going back to Katniss, she goes to the Capitol. She meets Hamish. She's, like we kind of get an idea of her kind of personality. She's gruff, she's prickly, she's not very likable, she's not trying to make friends. She's just lived in this world in District 12 for so long where things have been so hard and so difficult for them. She's not trying to be friends with anybody, and she's seen people, everybody pretty much is just fending for themselves. It's not like a warm place, it's not a hospitable place, her life. So she goes to District 12. She's completely out of her element. And part of the Hunger Games is getting people to like you, because you have the people from the district, from the capital, who are very wealthy, and they're just living these extravagant luxurious life. And you also think about, like the whole balance of the Matrix. The capital represents that. The capital is the extravagant, over the top opulence and luxury and wealth, whereas the people from the districts, the outer districts, represent the balance of that. And if you notice, there's a lot more of the people suffering and in poverty than there are people with all the wealth. You see that? So you can see how the more negative side of the coin is heavier, because that balances it out. Okay? If that makes sense. It's seemingly heavier, but obviously it's balanced. But you can see, okay, so if there's this little pocket of like the positive, then there's this much of the negative to equal the same amount as the positive, if that makes sense. Okay, I digress. Hamish is her, um, he's basically the representative of her and Peeta in the Capitol while they're in the game. And he's the one that's going to finesse the Capitol citizens to really take a liking to Katniss. More Katniss than Peeta. But Peeta's a pretty likable guy. He's likable, but he doesn't need it so much, because Peeta's kind of proving himself to be a little bit more altruistic, even though they both come from the same place, than she is. She's very much about herself. She is and she isn't, because you see she certainly helps people through the game, but in the beginning she's very much about, I have to worry about me. And she doesn't mince words. She's not very graceful socially. So Hamish is her liaison in this respect. And he ends up doing his job very well, and he gets people to like her. So there's a scene in that Hunger Games movie, that particular one, where they're lunging these huge fireballs at the contestants because they're all hiding. It's the beginning of the game. They're hiding. They're just trying to not get killed, because as soon as they were put into the arena, people were getting killed right away. So many of them were able to scatter and run and find places to hide. So the fireballs are trying to smoke them out. She starts running for her life. She's running, and one of the fireball lands close to her. She ends up getting burned. So now she's in a lot of pain. And she ends up climbing up a tree to just get away from everybody. Like, she figures, if I go up the tree, it's going to be unlikely that anybody's going to see me up there, and I can kind of rest. But she doesn't really understand how severely she's been burned. But she's there, she's suffering. You can see she's like shivering. She's probably got a fever setting in there possibly, or it's going to get very close to that point, but it's hurting her. It's a severe burn. And out of the blue, in the middle of the night, there's all these little chimes that she hears, and this little drone is flown up to her up in the tree. And it is a little tin of medicated salve that she can put on her burn to help heal it. And she does it, she's getting relief instantly. And, after many, I guess, many hours at the time, it's been a long time since I saw that movie, she's able to finally, it's like, okay, I can deal with this. This is not severe, excruciating pain taking me out of the game. I can now get on with my life. So these contestants in the Hunger Games are given boons. They're given things that help support them through their game experience. And this is where I'm kind of talking about where these provisions come. And they may seemingly come out of nowhere, but then you realize, okay, maybe something is going right for me. So maybe in this case, I have been making strides within my subconscious work. I've cleared certain blocks out that have really been holding me back and really hindering me. And now I'm starting to see things happen. Now, I can say for myself personally, I've had these kind of boon experiences at certain points in my life. I've had them all through my adult life. Whether it be in the 11th hour and I was completely riddled with anxiety about how I was going to make it through something, and then something would come and alleviate all that stress and anxiety, or something would I would receive something, and then something else would happen, and I would have to use whatever I received to address that thing that happened, aka money to address a scenario, address a consequence. At the time, I didn't realize obviously you don't realize, not necessarily everybody, but at that point, I did not realize the things I was experiencing were because of my choices. I really did not. I was completely blinded. But anyway, I would get money. That money would have to be used for something that was happening that would have been a stressful experience. And I had that all through my life. Now, prior to learning about this being a game, my dealing with those circumstances was horrible. I was anxious, fearful, anger, every lower frequency um feeling I could have. Okay. Now there's a major difference. Now, another way you are provided for is, if you will understand this, and it really took a while for my brain to process everything, where you know you will only get the information when you're a frequency match to it. So when your brain finally puts things together for you in a way that makes sense, and you've processed the information you've been given, you will understand that the situations, and this is a good example, because I spoke with another source player recently who was kind of having an experience, and he was talking about how he's choosing to see this as like a test. So this is a way, like, you may not consider this being a provision for you, but it is. It is, in the sense of, hey, you are still needing to address certain things within you, okay? Or, you've maybe made some progress. So now you're going to get a test. You're going to get a test, and you're going to be tested, and you're going to see how well you've progressed and how you're going to handle this. Now, if you made a choice in a lower frequency state of mind, and let's say you have not met up with the consequences prior to raising your frequency, now you come up in frequency, and eventually those consequences and you meet up, but you're in a higher frequency now, okay? You are going to respond, you're going to deal with those consequences in a much different way than how you would have in your old life, in your previous self. And that is a good indication of how well you've grown. And as I think of these topics, I am shown it often doesn't become fully apparent to me until I get ready to make these videos. So you see, I do get value out of these videos myself because oh my goodness, as I'm thinking of the things that I want to tell you, all of this stuff starts to make sense to me. I'm like, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. Oh, right. So these experiences you deal that you go through, these your life, whatever you're going, however your life is going now, you will come up to things that will give you a test. And or you will be in a life situation, a life experience that will be something preparing you. Every hard experience I went through has prepared me for something. It has given me the knowledge and the confidence to know how to handle different things. That is another thing how I've always viewed things. Even though I had negative feelings about the stuff, I had enough presence of mind to always look at them as like, okay, I went through this, how many times? I am super confident on how to handle this. I know how to handle this, like all these different things that I have learned how to handle. I'm like, okay. And because I know how to handle, because fear comes from the unknown. So because I know how to handle all of these possibly negative consequences, piece of cake, not afraid of them anymore. I understand how this thing works. That is, I view that as provision. I've been provided for to be given the lessons that I need to gain the knowledge that I need to have the wisdom that I need to get through this game. And that has been super useful. And I've been given an opportunity. I've been given many opportunities since I have been uprooted from my living for the last year. I have been given many opportunities to kind of accelerate my growth because I can see where I was stagnant. I've been given a lot of opportunities in the last year to progress quickly, fairly quickly. This has been a useful situation for me. And I've also been able to really conquer something in myself that I never could before. A self-control thing that I'm finding, wow, wow, like wow. Nicole, I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you've managed to kind of get control of this thing. This is, you should pat yourself on the back. You've done very well. And it's kind of like playing possum, if that makes sense to you. Learning to kind of be contradictory of who of to what you are, if that makes sense. In a it's learning game playing. It's learning how to play the game, to be strategic, not be manipulative, not be somebody who takes advantage of people, to just be strategic about your game, because that is important. Because I've always liked to play games. I've always kind of liked to play games. It's now like, okay, let's get a strategy. Let's just not freeball it. Okay. So I hope what I'm saying is making sense to you, that you will get these boons that seem to come out of nowhere, but they really do come from different choices that you've made, that you may not connect with the thing that you need to, that the boon is helping you with. You don't necessarily connect the dots, but they are there for seeming reason. But even if you're not making, like, even if, so let's say you're still kind of going through your experience, you're not, um you've made strides, but you still got work to do. You might have experiences like this where things just kind of line up. And like I said, if said it previously, I've had those things happen to me through my entire adult life. Something always lines up for me. And that's what you have to recognize for yourself. Things are always going to get taken care of for you, even with an unlocked script, even with you creating things consciously or even unconsciously, even though you know that once you unlock it, you're the one that's actually fully responsible for creating. Okay? So that's it. I'm going to leave you with this little tidbit for today, and you all be well. Bye.